Most people think hoarding is just about having too much stuff, an overflowing closet, a garage you can't park in, or stacks of boxes that never seem to move. But the truth is, hoarding is measured in 5 distinct levels, each one more serious than the last. And here's what many people over 60 in the United States don't realize. The higher you climb on that scale, the more your safety, health, and independence are quietly slipping away. This isn't just about a messy home, it's about blocked pathways that could slow you in an emergency, tripping hazards that could send you to the ER, and hidden sanitation issues that can affect your health. These levels can sneak up on anyone, especially after decades of holding on to just-in-case items or treasures meant for loved ones. As we go through each level today, you might be surprised where you fit in, and by the end, I want you to tell me in the comments if your level was higher or lower than you expected. And if you want your home to keep you safe, comfortable, and truly yours for years to come, hit that like button and subscribe right now so you don't miss the next life-changing tip. Meet Elvira May, a 72-year-old retired postal worker from the rolling plains of Kansas. She spent 4 decades delivering letters, rain or shine, and she took pride in knowing every face along her route. To her friends and neighbors, she was organized, dependable, and always ready with a warm smile. That's why it came as such a shock when she learned that her own home had quietly been slipping into what experts call the hoarding scale. For most of her life, Elvira May thought hoarding was something you only saw on sensational TV shows, houses stacked floor to ceiling with newspapers, hallways barely wide enough to squeeze through. She didn't think it could apply to her. After all, she wasn't living in chaos, at least, not in her mind. But here's the truth many seniors across the United States are starting to discover. Hoarding exists on a spectrum, and there are 5 distinct levels. You don't have to be on the extreme end to face serious risks. In Elvira May's case, it started with sentimental saving, boxes of letters from old friends, keepsakes from her postal route, and gifts from her children that she could never bring herself to part with. Over the years, more items found their way in. A discounted crockpot she didn't really need. Spare furniture just in case company came. And slowly, without her noticing, certain rooms became harder to navigate. When her granddaughter tripped on a stack of boxes near the living room entryway, Elvira May laughed it off. But a week later, she heard on the news about a local senior whose home was condemned because of unsafe living conditions. That's when she began to pay attention. Why her story matters is simple. Across the US, safety hazards, fall risks, and even eviction threats are quietly affecting older adults, especially in states with strict code enforcement. Many don't realize they're at risk until a neighbor reports a concern, a family member intervenes, or an emergency brings the problem to light. And here's the part most people never hear. The top level of hoarding isn't just about clutter. It's about losing access to parts of your home, and in some cases, losing your home entirely. So as we go through these 5 levels, picture Elvira May's story, and maybe your own, in a new light. Because where you land on this scale could be the difference between living safely in the home you love and facing a situation you never thought would happen to you. Level 1. The invisible beginning. At level 1, everything looks perfectly fine to most outsiders. If a neighbor dropped by, they'd probably say your home is clean, welcoming, and well-kept. You might have a few extra boxes in the garage, a kitchen drawer that doesn't quite close, or a whole closet packed a little too tightly, but there are no clear safety hazards. The floors are open, the exits are accessible, and you can use every room without moving piles of things out of the way. On the surface, nothing screams problem. And yet, this is where the slow creep begins. Many seniors in the United States, especially those who have lived in the same home for decades, don't recognize this stage for what it is. That's because the habits that lead here often feel completely normal, even responsible. After all, your generation grew up in a time when nothing was wasted. You saved for the kids, held on to perfectly good items just in case, and believed that if something still worked, you didn't throw it away. Those values served you well for years, until the things you saved began to outnumber the things you actually use. In level 1, it's not about messy piles taking over, it's about the invisible accumulation happening quietly in the background. Maybe your holiday decorations fill 3 storage bins instead of 1. Maybe you have 10 coffee mugs when you only ever use 2. Maybe there's a whole shelf of unopened gifts you never got around to re-gifting or donating. None of these feel urgent on their own, but together they start forming a pattern. Your home is slowly becoming a storage unit for things that belong to your past, not your present. This stage can be tricky because it doesn't disrupt your daily life, yet. You can still clean without much effort. You can still find what you're looking for. And because you're not struggling to move around, you don't feel the need to make changes. But here's the danger. The longer items sit unused, the more they blend into the background. That's how years pass without noticing the difference between a few extras and a growing collection that demands constant maintenance. The best time to take action is right here, before you move into level 2. That means getting intentional about what you allow to stay. Ask yourself, if I didn't already own this, would I go out and buy it today? If the answer is no, it might be time to let it go, before it becomes part of a bigger problem. Have you noticed more things piling up in hidden spots, like drawers you rarely open, back rooms you hardly use, or corners of the garage you haven't touched in years? Tell me below, because your story might help someone else realize they're in level 1 without even knowing it. Level 2, the subtle shift. This is the stage where small, almost unnoticeable changes begin to quietly affect your home and your daily life, without waving any big red flags. On the surface, your home still works. You can get to the kitchen, the bathroom, and your bedroom without stepping over mountains of stuff. But if you look closely, you'll start spotting the first signs that things are tipping in the wrong direction. You might notice faint, unfamiliar odors in certain rooms, maybe from food that expired in the back of the pantry or a spill that never got fully cleaned under the couch. Walkways that were once wide open now have boxes, bags, or furniture edging into the space, forcing you to walk slightly sideways in certain spots. Cleaning becomes harder, not because you've lost the ability, but because you have to move so many items just to vacuum or mop. For Elvira May, this stage was the turning point she didn't see coming. After years of keeping her home neat enough to welcome guests anytime, she started hesitating before inviting people in. It wasn't that her home was unsafe, it just didn't feel like the place she wanted to show off. She found herself saying, "Let's meet at the diner instead," or "Why don't we have coffee at your place?" That small social shift is often one of the first emotional clues that level 2 is creeping in. And here's something very current and real. In 2025, US housing reports are showing an increase in pest complaints among seniors, even in areas where this used to be rare. Warmer winters across much of the country are allowing insects and rodents to survive and multiply. At level 2, this becomes a bigger risk, because clutter gives pests more places to hide. A stack of papers by the back door, a few grocery bags stored on the floor, or extra boxes in the laundry room can quickly turn into a pest's ideal nesting spot. The danger here is subtle. You might brush it off as just needing a weekend to catch up on cleaning, but the longer you let this stage linger, the more it becomes your new normal. And when that happens, moving into level 3 is easier than you think. The key at level 2 is to reclaim your space before it starts dictating how you live. That means clearing walkways so you can move freely without sidestepping. It means taking a hard look at any areas you've stopped cleaning regularly and asking why. And it means being honest with yourself about whether you've started avoiding company because of your home's condition. Have you ever found yourself closing a door when visitors come over, just so they won't see a certain room? If so, you might already be in level 2. Tell me in the comments if that's happened to you, because your honesty might help someone else recognize this stage before it gets worse. Level 3, the functional loss stage. At level 3, your home still has walls, doors, and a roof, but parts of it are no longer truly yours. This is when 1 or 2 rooms become so cluttered that they are no longer usable for their intended purpose. A guest bedroom becomes a storage space where you can't see the bed anymore. A dining room table disappears under piles of mail, old newspapers, unopened packages, and things you promised yourself you'd sort later. The kitchen counter, once clear enough to prepare a meal, is now crowded with appliances you rarely use, stacks of dishes, or bags of groceries that never got properly put away. This is also the stage where visible trash starts to build up. Maybe it's a small wastebasket in the corner that's always full. Maybe it's grocery bags with expired food tucked in the back of the pantry. These aren't small oversights anymore. They are signs that your home's daily functions are breaking down. The refrigerator might have items so old you can't remember when you bought them. The laundry room might have clean clothes that never get put away because there's nowhere to put them. For seniors, level 3 carries a serious risk: increased fall injuries from cluttered floors. In the United States, falls are one of the top reasons older adults end up in the emergency room, and they can trigger a cascade of other health issues. At this stage, clear walking paths become harder to maintain, and even a small stumble over a stray object can lead to broken bones or a long recovery period. For Elvira May, level 3 came into focus the day she realized she hadn't eaten at her kitchen table in over a year, not because she didn't want to, but because it had become a holding area for everything she didn't know where to put. It started with holiday decorations waiting to be stored, then important papers she didn't want to misplace, then a few boxes she meant to take to her daughter. Before she knew it, the table was buried. That's why I say, if you can't use your kitchen table because it's covered, you might already be here. The emotional weight of level 3 is heavy. You start feeling boxed in, not just physically, but mentally. Decisions pile up along with the clutter, and each room you lose makes it harder to picture a clear, safe home again. But here's the truth: it's still very possible to turn things around at this stage, if you act now. And you'll want to, because level 4 isn't just inconvenient. It's where the situation starts to become a true emergency, one that could put your health, safety, and even your housing at risk. We'll talk about that next, but for now, ask yourself, is there a room in my home I avoid because it feels overwhelming to face? If the answer is yes, you might already be in level 3, and this is the perfect moment to reclaim it before things get worse. Level 4, the crisis zone. By the time someone reaches level 4, the home is no longer just cluttered, it's a place where safety is actively compromised. At this stage, the issues go far beyond piles of belongings. You may see structural damage, floors weakened from moisture, walls stained from leaks that were never repaired, or warped doors that no longer close properly because furniture or debris blocks them. The air might carry severe, lingering odors from mold, rotting food, or animal waste. Pests aren't just an occasional problem, they've become part of the environment, nesting in stacks of paper, clothing, or stored food. The most dangerous aspect of level 4 is blocked exits. When hallways are narrowed to just a few inches, or doors are inaccessible because of piles, your ability to escape in an emergency is drastically reduced. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a life-threatening hazard. Firefighters often say that seconds matter in an emergency, and at level 4, those seconds are often lost. For Elvira May, her wake-up call came from outside her own front door. One chilly evening, her neighbor caught the faint smell of smoke and immediately called the fire department. When firefighters arrived, they traced it to an overloaded electrical outlet buried under stacks of old magazines in Elvira May's living room. The outlet had been sparking, and with so much combustible material nearby, it could have turned into a full-blown fire within minutes. That moment shook her to her core, because she realized that if she had been asleep, she might never have made it out in time. Here's a current and alarming fact. As of 2025, some US states have begun enforcing mandatory welfare checks for seniors suspected of living in conditions similar to level 4. This can happen if a concerned neighbor reports odors, visible clutter through windows, or signs of disrepair. While these checks are designed to protect seniors, they can also lead to forced cleanouts or, in extreme cases, eviction if the home is deemed unsafe. The emotional toll at level 4 is immense. Many seniors in this stage feel trapped, not just by the physical items, but by fear, shame, and the overwhelming scale of the problem. Asking for help feels risky, yet continuing as things are puts both health and housing on the line. If you or someone you care about is in this zone, action needs to be immediate. Start by clearing safe pathways to every exit, reducing fire hazards, and addressing any electrical or structural issues first. Even small steps, like clearing a 3-foot wide path from the bedroom to the front door, can dramatically improve safety while you work toward larger changes. Level 4 is a turning point. From here, it's either the start of a hard but life-saving recovery, or the slide into level 5, where control over the home is all but lost. And that's where the consequences become irreversible. We'll talk about that next. Level 5. The full loss of control. This is the stage most people picture when they hear the word hoarding, but few understand just how devastating it can be, especially for seniors. At level 5, the home is no longer functioning as a safe place to live. There are no clear or safe paths through rooms. In some areas, you may need to climb over piles of items just to reach a chair, or squeeze sideways through narrow gaps between towering stacks of belongings. The clutter isn't just inconvenient, it's physically dangerous. By this point, utilities may be partially or completely unusable. The kitchen sink might be buried under layers of dishes and debris, making it impossible to prepare meals safely. The bathroom could be inaccessible, forcing residents to use makeshift arrangements that create serious sanitation hazards. Heating and cooling systems may be blocked, damaged, or shut off entirely, leaving the home at uncomfortable and sometimes unsafe temperatures. In many level 5 homes, electricity is compromised because outlets and cords are hidden under flammable materials, creating extreme fire risks. Sanitation problems are often severe here. Trash, spoiled food, animal waste, and even human waste can accumulate when basic cleaning routines are no longer possible. The air may be thick with dust, mold spores, or ammonia from pet waste, posing dangerous respiratory risks. These conditions not only threaten the health of the person living there but can also spread to neighboring properties, which often prompts outside intervention. And that's where the real risk comes in: forced removal from the home. At level 5, city code enforcement, health departments, or even concerned family members may step in. Sometimes, these interventions result in an immediate clean-out. Other times, the home is declared unfit for occupancy, meaning the resident is relocated, often with little say in the matter. For Elvira May's friend, Dalith, this reality came without warning. A complaint from a delivery driver led to an inspection, and within 2 weeks, her home was condemned due to unsafe living conditions. She went from decades in her beloved 3-bedroom house to a single, sparsely furnished 1-room apartment in a senior community. While the new place was clean and safe, the emotional shock of losing her home, and the memories tied to it, was something she never fully recovered from. The emotional weight of level 5 is crushing. Many seniors at this point feel like they've lost control over both their home and their choices. But here's the important truth: even at this stage, recovery is possible, but only with immediate, structured help. This may mean accepting outside assistance from professionals, social services, or trusted family members. If you or someone you know is nearing or at level 5, action cannot wait. Every day increases the risk of injury, illness, or permanent loss of housing. Clearing a safe path to all exits, restoring utilities, and addressing sanitation issues are the first urgent priorities. From there, reclaiming control becomes a step-by-step process, but it starts with the decision to not let level 5 be the final chapter. When Elvira May realized she had reached level 3, it wasn't a dramatic TV moment. There were no cameras, no tearful interventions, just a quiet afternoon when she stood in her kitchen, looked at the table she hadn't used in over a year, and felt something deep in her gut shift. She thought about her granddaughter tripping over boxes last Thanksgiving. She thought about the fire department showing up at her neighbor's house a few months earlier. And she thought, if I don't act now, I might not get to decide how this story ends. Her first step wasn't hiring a massive clean-out crew or throwing away everything she owned. Instead, she reached out to a senior peer support decluttering group she found through her local community center. This wasn't just about organizing, it was about meeting other people her age who understood the emotional weight of letting go. They didn't shame her for keeping her late husband's tools or the boxes of letters from her postal days. They helped her work through one space at a time, starting with the most urgent safety issues: blocked walkways, cluttered exits, and anything that could cause a fall. Over time, she noticed changes she hadn't expected. She could move from her bedroom to the kitchen without sidestepping around piles. She stopped worrying about whether the front door could open all the way in an emergency. Sunlight began pouring back into rooms where curtains had been blocked by furniture. And slowly, The shame she once felt about inviting people over began to fade. Today, Elvira May has safe walkways, clear exits, and the joy of hosting her grandkids without anxiety. The dining table is once again a place for Sunday dinners, not a storage surface. And she's learned that decluttering isn't about stripping your home of everything you love, it's about making space for the life you want to live now. Here's the truth she wants every senior to hear: the earlier you act, the easier it is to reverse course. There is no shame in taking that first step, only freedom in knowing you're protecting your health, your safety, and your independence. Whether you're at level 1 or staring down level 4, progress is possible. You don't need to wait for a crisis to change direction. Your home should protect you, not put you at risk. And every single level of hoarding can be turned around, starting today. If this opened your eyes to what hoarding really looks like, share it with someone over 60 who might need to hear this. Like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe, because your next chapter should feel lighter, freer, and fully yours.